We are continuing our series of looking at chiropractors, and veterinarians that have used the VOM technique, veterinary orthopedic manipulation, and specific frequency laser. And we are joined now by Dr. Fred Yo-Yo, which is very hard for me to say, but all right, we're going to go with that. Dr. Fred Yo-Yo.
Easier than my last name.
From Santa Barbara, California, one of my favorite places, but I believe that's just your base, and in fact you travel all over to not sell your wares so much as practice your practice, right? So you actually are a doctor of chiropractic medicine, but nowadays you have more interest perhaps in treating four-legged creatures than two, is that right?
That's true. Very true.
And we won't go into why, we all know why. So you started off with Dr. Inman learning about veterinary orthopedic manipulation, or VOM. How long ago was that?
Roughly 8 to 10 years ago.
And did you immediately use that in animals?
Well, I had been treating animals from the time I was a chiropractic student. And I didn't know what I was doing until one day, and I thought, well, I need to find out about this. And I knew that there were some chiropractors who taught chiropractic adjusting, and I realized I didn't need to go and study with these other chiropractors. I needed to, because they come from the same field I do, knowing the human body. In this case, it's about the animal body, and I kept seeing an ad in a journal that I get, and it was about VOM. And so one day I just picked up the phone and I called Dr. Bill, and we chatted for maybe 45 minutes. And I said, I'm going to come and study with you. And after I did that, which I believe it was in Dallas, Texas, when I first met him physically and did the first of my many VOM seminars, and I incorporated it right away. Now, mind you, I had done very gentle manipulation type of work with animals. I never felt that it was necessary to use a lot of force. So it was easy for me to jump over and cross over into using essentially an activator type of instrument for one, and then electronic instruments that go along with the VOM technique.
So how long were you practicing VOM before you then got interested in laser therapy? And I should point out at this time that your idea of laser therapy did not necessarily gel with Dr. Inman's initially.
That part you're correct on, and I probably used lasers for 14 or 15 years at this point. Different lasers, little ones that I had purchased, and I then had one that was an 830 nanometer laser. I used that for 5.5 years, and when I started doing the VOM seminars, Dr. Bill and I just locked horns on this, and he really hit hard. And finally one day I just realized that, okay, there's something about this, because I was limited in what I could do with my laser that I had. So I ventured over into using the Erconia lasers now, and that's what I use now.
And so do you think it's a natural progression for anybody that may be doing the VOM course, is they're probably going to end up wanting to know about the laser?
I can't see them not wanting to know about the laser, because we can accomplish a certain amount of effect with the VOM work. The use of the laser is like the icing on the cake, and it really helps complete things, and much faster.
And I know that people like to hear these stories. What is a case? We all have a case that sticks out in our mind as like, that was just the miracle case. That was when the aha moment, this stuff really works.
Wow. There's so many that I could pull out. Let me just see here for a moment. I know that there was one case, I'll give you this one as a starter. And it's this, that on Maui, where I go every 3 months to work on roughly 70 different horses that I've treated over there.
Tough gig. Somebody's
Yes, it
got to
is.
do it, though,
Somebody
right?
has to do it. Nobody in Hawaii does this work. So, here I am, and out on one of our trips, 2 days before I was to leave to come back to the mainland, I was talking with a lady who owns many horses, and one of these horses, his name is Rio, a dressage horse, a big dressage horse, well trained. But the problem with Rio was that he kept having accidents in this way. He would fall asleep and then fall over. And so they had to stop riding him because it was a danger. And so she asked me if I could do anything. And I said, well, let's see. He had been, after the original sets of owners had spent roughly $70,000 in trying to find out what was going on with Rio. The horse was just given to this lady Bobby. And so she had him there and asked me if I could do anything. So I said, well, let's see. By the way, the medical doctors, the veterinarians, had finally arrived at a diagnosis of narcolepsy, which is a variation on the theme of epilepsy. And so I said, here's what I'll do, Bobby. I'm going to treat Rio today and tomorrow because I leave tomorrow afternoon. And so I did the VOM work and then laser specifically for frequencies for this condition. And then an hour and a half later, I lasered him a second time that first day. And then the next day, I treated him in the morning and lasered him, and then an hour and a half later, lasered him. Now I'll say that Rio was falling down 3 or sometimes 4 times a week, and he was hurting himself. Then I left. In the next 3 months, the time I came back again, Rio had fallen down maybe 4 times in that 12-week period. So this was a big win for Rio. And then when I went back, I picked up and I treated him again more. I have many other stories, but that is a prize.
And I think that's the thing. People eventually have so many stories.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, final question. Can you imagine now not having the VOM technology, not having the ability to use the Econia frequency-specific laser?
No.
No.
Do you want to hear another story?
Sure, of course.
Okay. I have clients in California, and they have a 1,000-acre ranch. They do fox hunting. The fellow and his wife, he invented the barcode scanner, which is a laser. And one day I was there, this was 2 years ago, treating some of the horses, and he said, "What would your laser do for colicking?" I said, "Well, I've treated 2 other horses who had colicking problems, and we were successful." So, well, he said, "I have a horse over at the hospital, and she is colicking. They're doing what they can with her, and if they have to operate on her for the colic situation, she's no good for me. She's a sale horse." I said, "Well, when I finish here with this horse, let's go. I have about a 2-hour window here." So we went over, and I treated this mare, and I told the vets what I was going to do, and they said, okay. They were doing everything, the protocols for treating colicking from the veterinary point of view. And they were amenable to me doing the work. And so I said, this is what I'm going to do. I treated her traditional VOM. I used the lasers for colicking. I said, I'm going to come back, and I lasered her again. Now, this is the only time I saw that horse. 6 days later, she was at home. She never had to have the surgery, and they were riding her. Is it a stroke of luck that she didn't have to have the surgery? Absolutely. There wasn't an impaction that made that necessary. But that's another one of those stories that's so great. I would not have been able to do that without the combination of VOM and the lasers.
And I think that's the thing. You think of one story, you think of the next, you think
Oh,
of
it
the
could go
next.
on and on.
And there's
on.
a lot of stories, but the point is there are a lot of success stories.
That's right.
So we appreciate you taking the time today, Dr. Fred. Yo-yo. Of course, now everybody's going to do this thinking they're going to go to Hawaii and treat the horses. You may be finding some competition there. Anyway, thank
Well,
you so very much.
I'll welcome them. There are a lot of horses out there, and you're welcome.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.